Radio check. All loud and clear.
Radio loud and clear from garage.
Radio check.
Radio check, copy.
It's been 66 days since the checkered flag fell on the 2025 season in Abu Dhabi, and Lando Norris was crowned world champion for the first time. But now the slate is wiped clean, and we go again. This time, though, with the biggest overhaul of regulations in over a decade. Let's get into it. Welcome to Bahrain and to pre-season testing on F1 TV. Hello and welcome to the Bahrain International Circuit. You can see we're stood here in the paddock. This is your first post-testing show on F1 TV. I'm Betty Glover. Alongside me today, we've got our F1 correspondent, Lawrence Barretto, and we've got our senior technical analyst, Sam Collins, as well, who we need you here, Sam, because we've got a lot of technical stuff that we need to run through. But Lawrence, I'm going to come to you first. A lot of eyes have been sort of building up to testing. We've had day one of testing. There's been so many questions. Do you have a bit more of an idea of how the 2026 season is going to be panning out?
No, not really. But to be fair, walking up and down the paddock today, I think that's the feeling among all of the teams here. There are so many unknowns. We've been saying it all the way through pre-season, through the Barcelona shakedown, coming here as well. These 2026 regulations, massive changes on the chassis side, massive changes on the power unit side. And with that, it means a blank sheet of paper. And that's why no one really wants to put their kind of colours to the mast and say who's looking good and who isn't, because ultimately they don't know yet. You know, multiple fuel loads, different tyre compounds being run here in tests and different setup programs. So it's so difficult to tell, but I love it.
I love it too, but also it's pre-season testing, isn't it? So we can never really be sure about who's looking the best. Sam, you've been walking around the paddock today with your camera. He's been taking photos of literally everything, thousands of photos. What have you noticed?
I've noticed my feet hurt. Every single car is different this year, and it's absolutely wonderful. There's no trends. Everybody's doing different things at the moment, and it's absolutely wonderful to see so much technical innovation. We'll get into that later.
We will, definitely. Well, let's take a look at how day one of pre-season testing panned out. Okay, come on then, Lawrence. What are we seeing here?
I think what we really saw today, and a lot of the drivers were talking about it, is just massive lock-ups. I think as the drivers were trying to get comfortable with the cars, trying to get a feel for the setups that they've got, just in terms of what they were working with, trying these different setup options, naturally you're going to kind of get these difficulties out there, and you're just seeing that with the drivers maybe starting to push the limits. But Lewis was talking a lot about the wind today. He was saying how dusty it was out there. There hasn't been much action on this track.
No, doesn't look too bad to me, actually, the dust. I mean, we'll hear in a minute about what the teams think, but a lot of drivers struggling with this corner here. You can see Lewis struggling on the exit, and this turn one, I think it's just everybody just going straight on. A lot of drivers, I think, just struggling with these new power units, understanding how to get the best out of them. Isn't that really the point of testing? They've got to learn the tricks here. And some teams, like Alpine, but Alpine are not alone in this, having technical problems. I think every single team I saw in the pit lane had some sort of mechanical issue. I was walking along smelling a lot of burnt carbon fibre, and that's always the sound, the smell and sounds you have when it gets to testing and teams are really, really on the limit.
Well, that's not what you want to be smelling, is it, really? That's not great. Look, we're very pleased to say that joining us now is Williams team principal, James Vowles. James, thank you so much for joining us. Firstly, did you have a nice break? Are you feeling refreshed?
It wasn't a tremendous break. I think it was about 7 days off, ultimately. Very, very close between when we finished racing to where we are now. But let's put it this way, it's nice to be back at the track.
Yeah, it certainly is. I've got to ask you, of course, Williams didn't make it to the Barcelona shakedown. So what sort of impact has that had on you and the team? And where are you at now?
Hopefully we're on a path to recovery. So I think today we did the most laps. That was the intent behind it. It's not to do the most laps, but really get in there, get stuck in, get the mileage under our belts. What we did in lieu of that is we spent a week on what's called a VTT, virtual track test, where you take the whole car, whole chassis, whole engine, whole gearbox, actually brakes are fitted to it as well, and run it on a test rig effectively that mimics as much as possible what happens at the track. But you can start shaking out gremlins in your the ECU, in your steering wheel, in your brake system, in your fuel system, in your cooling system, the same way you would at the track. It's not as perfect, it's not as good, but it does work. The race drivers were in our driver and loop simulator all of that week as well at the same time. And then we, I think, caught everyone a bit off guard and just ran around Silverstone for a few laps in pretty horrible conditions before we came here. But the key to that is, whilst that put us on the back foot, what we're doing is what I think a sensible path to recovering the lost information, and just make sure, as you can see here, we start on the front foot.
James, you didn't build a new car last year. You bought last year a 2-year-old chassis, raced it all the way through the year, saved the development budget, gave yourself a bit more emphasis on this year's car. How much pressure does that bring to the team, and how much of an advantage was that by not developing a completely new car last year?
It's a good question. I mean, it's 2-year-old chassis sounds very old, but it was just built the year prior to that. The key is this: it gave us time to start putting in systems and processes that really weren't in place beforehand. That's what it brought us time to do. We have to acknowledge that we've come from the back of the grid, and you've got to build up those tools and systems along the way. It takes time. It gave us an advantage there. But that is not an advantage relative to top-tier teams, I'm afraid. That is just the benchmark that they set and can move forward from. It also gave us a lot of time in the wind tunnel. That is an advantage relative to everyone else. And it gave us time to effectively readapt how we're designing the car. So this car is by far the most complex car we've ever built, produced, and designed. I gave some numbers previously, but it's about 3 times the amount of components and 3 times the amount of time spent on the individual items.
Obviously today you said that Williams got a load of laps in on the board. I think when we talked this morning you said if we have 6 days of testing we won't have much to catch up on. So what's the early feedback? We saw Alex Albon back in shot and Carlos, he ran the car this morning. What's the early feedback?
So the good news is, first of all, there's no significant vices in the car. So the first thing, the big red flags are you get out of it and you don't have correlation back to what you expect in the wind tunnel or to what you have in the dill. That's not there. You showed the imagery just now of turn 1. It wasn't just turn 1, it was turn 10. This wind, in fact, is just picked up now, which is fantastic. It's an easterly wind, southeasterly wind. Very unusual for Bahrain. It's not really a wind we normally have. And that's causing a bit of upset up and down the grid. For us as well, turn 1's just been a bit tricky all day, turn 10 as well. So it's getting used to those. And then all the drivers spoke about this. Very different way of using electrical energy this year. And what it really means is, for the drivers, no 2 laps are pretty much the same starting or finishing. And when you're a driver and you're approaching turn 1 with speed differences of 5 to 10 kilometers an hour, it's hard. It's hard to find your exact braking point and then work through everything. So that's the work we've got to do going forward, just to get more consistent.
And James, I spoke to you a lot last season, and you said to a lot of media that you've been working towards 2026. 2026 has been sort of your main focus. With that in mind, has that sort of added more pressure to you almost?
I don't think so. I mean, what we've been doing is this, that we have a long way to go. I'm really proud of where we finished last year, but we have to acknowledge that we want to be multiple world champions. That is the ambition. That's why I've joined this team. And that's a long way away from where we were even last year. Still a great step for the team going forward. But to get there, we're going to have to continue to dig deep and sort out quite a few items. And that includes the fact that we missed Barcelona testing this year. And the ongoing event from that, we've got to make sure we catch back up and add performance to the car quickly. I think what you're seeing is an output from a system that I stressed highly, but that's what I'm here to do at the same time as well. We're not here just to be midfield, but start pushing the team forward. And so that's why I don't feel the pressure. I have the board by my side. We knew what we were doing beforehand. We had agreement on it. The drivers by my side. We all want to be pushing this team forward.
Okay, well, James, we're very, very excited to see what you can do in 2026. Thank you so much. We'll let you go because I'm sure you've got plenty of things that you need to be cracking on with. Thank you very much, James Vowles there. Let's go from one principle to the other. Let's focus on Mercedes. Here's Toto Wolff. He spoke to Lawrence earlier.
I like Robot Toto, that's quite good.
Yeah.
Toto, great to see you. Barcelona looks super smooth, your launch looks slick this morning, looked good again. You must be feeling pretty happy with where the team are at this point in the year.
I think everything goes according to the plan. We have, it isn't smooth sailing. We have complication on car balance, which are a little bit more articulated here than they were in Barcelona, obviously due to the hot conditions. And we've seen a very, very strong Verstappen this morning. So, yeah, we have to get our act together, all of us, and then maybe by the end of the test we will understand more whether what we've done is good and good enough.
Talking about Max and your threats really this year, your engine is the talk of the paddock. How do you feel about that, and what do you make of the threats to, power unit wise to your power unit?
I think how this whole thing has come about is blown out of proportion. If our competitors would know how little difference it makes, it would look maybe the standpoint would be a little bit silly to give it so much importance. But this is Formula One, how it's always been. There's political lobbying. There is trying to influence how the regulations are made, and that's okay.
Great stuff. Thanks, Toto. Appreciate it.
Toto Wolff there, the Mercedes team principal. Lawrence, he seemed very cool, calm and collected.
Yeah, I think at that point in the day, Mercedes had a really good morning. George had put Banker a number of laps on the board, and that kind of carried in that feeling that Mercedes were favourite as they went through Barcelona shakedown. Obviously, Kimi had a tougher afternoon. At one point, he'd only done one lap on the board. He'd spent a couple of hours in the garage, and the team said they investigated an issue. They said it's not PU related, but they didn't want to kind of give me any more detail on that at the minute.
Well, I've been fertling around in the back of the garage.
Of course you have, Sam, of course you have.
Of course, yeah. They were hitting it with a hammer. That's how I know they had a big problem. And okay. I understand the problem was in the suspension area of the car. They didn't want to give more detail, but obviously they needed to make an adjustment with a hammer. So that's a pretty substantial issue, because Mercedes are not the team to fix it with a hammer.
Yeah, not ideal. Not what you want to be hearing if you're a Mercedes fan, for sure. But Lawrence, we came into this week, didn't we, thinking that Mercedes were one of the favourites. They had the best engine. They were looking really good, really confident. Is that still the case?
Oh, I don't think we should take too much from what just happened out there. Testing is testing for a reason. They want to kind of snuff out all these potential niggles, these issues. They had such a good run through the Barcelona shakedown that they have started working on different setups early doors in this particular test, and that's the natural next step that you'd want to be as you kind of search for reliability and greater performance going into next week. So this is a problem. It's cost them a couple of hours of running, so obviously it's not ideal, because they would have wanted those laps on the board and Kimi would have wanted more time in the car. But it's way too early to say that that's put them on the back foot. It's just a hiccup. And I'm sure that, coming back into tomorrow, if they put on the laps again, we'll probably just still be talking about them as being favourites again.
We've still got a lot of pre-season testing to go, haven't we? We can't be jumping to conclusions from day one of pre-season testing. Let's talk, though, about all of the different car regulations in 2026, Sam. This is your speciality. You've been geeking out on it all. There's been so many changes. Talk us through the big ones. What are the headlines?
Well, it's a fundamentally different car. New regulations. So let's start with what you can see, the aerodynamic regulations. The cars are slightly smaller and they're more agile. They're able to race a little bit better. We've got active aerodynamics, which should improve the on-track action. But the real crucial part to these new regulations is what you can't see. It's the power units. There's a new advanced sustainable fuel that's running them. We've got rid of the MGU-H, and we've got this really big, powerful electric motor alongside the 1.6 litre turbocharged V6 engine. And altogether, it's just over 1,000 horsepower of performance out of each of these cars, which is split roughly 50-50 between the combustion engine and the electrical engine. And I just think these rules have been completely blown everything out of the water. There's nothing that you can really carry over from last year in terms of mechanical parts. I think the mirror glass in the rearview mirror and the halo, and that's pretty much it.
We were walking down the paddock earlier, weren't we? And we were just saying how all of the cars are so different. It's quite fascinating to see, isn't it, that we're starting a season and all the cars look different. There isn't really that many similarities.
Yeah, and up to the end of last year, you saw like different trends, different families of cars. So you could look at the Sauber and look at the Red Bull and the McLaren. They were all sort of the same sort of family of car. Come here, there's 11 cars and 11 families of design, and each car has just so many fascinating details on it. It's just wonderful. I could fill the next 4 hours with this.
Well, please don't, because we've got things to be doing with our lives, Sam. Lawrence, just really quickly, you have been talking to a lot of the drivers, haven't you, in the build-up to pre-season testing. How are they feeling about sort of the workload that they're going to have to put in to get used to these new cars?
I think most of them are just really happy with the challenge that they got in front of them. I think they all accept that this year's going to be a bit busier. It's going to be a bit more homework to do. There's just a lot more to learn, with the boost and the overtake and the recharge and these new functions and tools that they've got to play with to really potentially give them more performance or give them maybe a differential relative to the other drivers. So actually, they're enjoying that challenge, but they're aware that this testing period is very important for them to run through all of those systems, make sure it's working as they predicted through the simulations, and also that they've got a good grasp on it, so that when they get to Australia and that first race, they're really well set to kind of make the most of them.
Well, Lawrence, you've been a really busy man. We've been sending you everywhere, doing interviews. First, Toto Wolff. You've spoken to Lewis Hamilton. You've spoken to a lot of the drivers. But you've also been speaking to Hollywood royalty. Yeah, that's right. We've got Hollywood on the programme. Lawrence has been catching up with Keanu Reeves.
Well, normally at this part of the test, I'm interviewing racing drivers, team principals, but I got someone far cooler to talk to now.
No. It must be slow right now. Are they on a break or something? Or?
No. You are number one on our hit list today, Keanu Reeves. Obviously, Hollywood legend, and you've been embedded in this team at Cadillac for the last year or so.
Yeah, not quite embedded, but I'm part of doing a documentary about Cadillac Formula One.
Cool.
Kind of the creation, working on the bid, and their journey to the first race in March.
So you obviously did that epic documentary on Born GP. You know how this sport works. What have you learned working on this project with Cadillac?
How amazing and profound. I think there's like, how do I describe this? It's very intense. From the outside, if we look at the race car, looking down the track, just the technical side of it, the teams, putting a team together, what it takes to have the car, all of the elements, being a rules regulation change. And then because we were kind of telling the early story of the team before they even got into Formula One, just some of the background of, FIA, FOM, and just kind of that world. Behind the scenes, I guess, we're to get onto the track. I don't know. I don't know if that was very clear. That was a lot of I don't know. There's so much, but anyway.
But that's the beauty, though. I think that is the beauty of 2026.
It's drama.
So you've nailed it. You've nailed it very much. Keanu, thanks very much. I hope to see you at another racetrack very soon.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
That was a very chaotic interview, wasn't it? Very intense. It was nice to get a little monologue from Keanu Reeves, though, on the new season. Lawrence, what did you make of him?
I love the passion. I'm really looking forward to this documentary. It's really cool that Cadillac have given him all of this access. He was at the shakedown that they did in mid-January. He's kind of been following the team as closely as possible. They were there at the launch event as well. So he's given unprecedented access to what is a very cool project that Cadillac have delivered. And, the very fact that they are here already, having only just been given entry about a year or so ago, and they've got a race car, the job that they're doing is incredible. Yeah,
we're going to get on to sort of what Cadillac look like and how impressed we are, and a lot of people in this paddock are, with them. But Lawrence, you do a lot of interviews for F1, don't you?
I do.
How good is it to be, getting some stars like that, involved in the coverage and talking about the sport?
I think what's really cool is Keanu loves F1. Like, I got that impression when I was talking to him before the interview and afterwards as well. And I think for him to be here and want to be here, want to learn more about the key protagonists in the sport, he wants to talk to the engineers, he wants to talk to the drivers, he wants to get an understanding of what makes this sport tick. And I think when you've got characters like him here, I think it just shows how much the popularity of Formula One is really permeating the rest of the world. And so it's great that he's in town. As I said, I'm looking forward to seeing his documentary, and thank you to Cadillac for kind of giving him that access.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Cadillac then, Sam, because when we have been sort of building up to Cadillac in the new season in 2026, we always sort of caveat it with, we've got to be patient because they're a brand new team. We don't really know what to expect. However, are they going to be better than we think they're going to be?
The short answer to that question is, yeah, I think they are. If the last 4 new Formula One teams to join this sport, only one survives, Haas. And you might think that, well, a new Formula One team, yeah, it's not that difficult, just enter the sport. No, this is an incredibly difficult task that the team have performed. To put together a team from scratch, design, build a car, and they've got a new power unit on the way, which apparently is ahead of schedule, which is really impressive for General Motors. To have that team on the grid is astounding. And they got their car running before a lot of other teams did as well. And they don't look like a new team. They look like a super experienced team. And there's a lot of familiar faces in the garage, but nonetheless, they do look together and operational. I'm really impressed by that car and team.
Talking about familiar faces, their two drivers are two very experienced drivers, aren't they, Lawrence? How much is that going to help the team going forward?
I think it kind of plays into what Sam was saying, that they've just made a lot of very sensible decisions. You know, they've gone for experience. In Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez, they've got race wins between them. They've got more than 500 Grand Prix worth of experience that they can bring to the table. And I think when you're a new team, and understandably, there's going to be a lot of niggles. There's going to be a lot of issues as you try to understand the new package that you're working on. I was talking to Graham Loudon and Pat Simmons earlier today, and they were like, everything we do is new. You know, the power steering system, it's the first time we put it in here as a Cadillac car.
Wow.
And for them to have to learn all of those bits from scratch, whereas the other teams, the cars are new, but there's elements that carry over. So it's a huge project. So to be able to call on that experience from Checo and from Valtteri to give that real detailed experience, I think is super important for that team, and as they're going to want to make extreme progress through the year.
It is so exciting, isn't it, to see what Cadillac are going to be able to do this coming season. Now, we've heard from one Hollywood superstar. Let's hear from another, shall we? Alex Brundle has been looking into those 2026 regulations, but in particular, that rear wing. Go on, Alex, take it away.
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for the superstar to arrive. Guys, the gang at F1's Media and Technical Centre asked me if there are any cool technical bits I'd like to look at in testing. I said, only a lot. And they said, OK, well, you can only pick one. And this is what I've picked. This is the rear wing in straight mode of the Alpine. Straight mode, completely different from DRS, of course, available to all cars at all times. And one of the ways that it's different is the actuation is way more free of the rear wing for the cars. They can choose the way that rear wing is actuated. And there's a difference with this Alpine, with this top element of the rear wing actually rocking back in comparison to the main plane. To give you an example of how that's different to normal, this Mercedes look is using the way more DRS style actuation of the rear wing in straight mode. That causes air to rush through that slot gap and reduces the drag of the rear wing in a traditional way. Well, what's really interesting with this Alpine is what's the point? And the point is fascinating. Effectively, as they're moving towards the braking zone here, the air reattaches more quickly to the top element of this rear wing, that top element of it, with the actuation that Alpine have picked. Many people reckoning that's going to give them an opportunity to close that rear wing into corner mode again later, and maybe even give them a little bit more braking performance. It does cost a tiny bit more drag though, so we have our first aerodynamic trade-off of the year. There we go. That's my fun bit for today.
That was very fun, Alex. Thank you very much for that. Very interesting, wasn't it, guys? Here is the testing schedule then that you can enjoy for the rest of this week. We've got day 2 coming up tomorrow. We'll be live for the last hour of testing. And then, of course, we've got the wrap-up show like this straight after that. And on Friday, again, we've got day 3, that last hour. You can listen to live commentary of that, and then you can join us again afterwards. Sam Collins, what did you make of that Alex Brundle little masterclass there?
He says it's the first trade-off of the season, and he's right. It's the first one we've shown you, but oh my word, there are so many lovely things. Alex is going to be really jealous because I'm here with the cars to look at them. So sorry, Alex, you did a great job there, but there's so much more I want to show you all tomorrow.
Oh, I'm really excited. Lawrence, any sort of last final thoughts from you?
I'm intrigued to see how Ferrari evolve over the course of testing. We heard from today Lewis wasn't too happy with the kind of conditions out there. He was saying it was very windy to get a feel for the car. As this test progresses, we're going to start to see teams start to work more on setup work, chase that performance, and we will start to see a pecking order emerge. I think there was today, it was just too unclear to really work out who was hot and who was not.
Well, it is worth probably saying that Lando Norris was the fastest out there today, and obviously we have the caveat of this is testing, so you can't take it all too seriously. But Max Verstappen got the most miles, didn't he? I think he did over 130 laps, which is by far the most out of any of the teams.
I think if you count the practice start, which was after the checkered flag, and the in-lap, it's getting to something like 136 laps, which is essentially he's gone endurance racing rather than Formula One racing. And I think they just left him out there so he didn't want to come back and stop playing with the new toy. But maybe he's going to go home and play on the simulator as well.
Oh, I love that. I mean, that's what, 2.5 Bahrain Grand Prix race distances?
I was getting on for the third one as well, so
yeah. So that's a pretty impressive amount of mileage and reliable too.
To be fair, we've seen quite a lot of the drivers walking around this paddock, but we haven't seen Max Verstappen, so he's probably just taken a nap to recharge. He's having to press that boost button to get himself going again, isn't he, Lawrence?
I like that. You're getting the boost button in, you need to drop the overtake in tomorrow, maybe the recharge on Friday as well, Betty. I like it.
We're going to play bingo over the next sort of three episodes of post-testing show to see how many of those regulation new words we can drop in. Also, it's Liam Lawson's birthday, guys. So
Happy birthday, Liam.
Do you want to close the show by singing him happy birthday?
No.
No, I'm going to save you there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for our first post-race testing. It's not race. I'm getting ahead of myself. For our first post-testing show. There we go. Got there eventually. Bit rusty. Are you guys rusty?
No, I made a carbon fibre.
Well, Formula One is well and truly back. Catch us tomorrow and also on Friday for all of the latest, and we'll try and answer some of those big questions. We'll see you then.